is good, everybody? Alright, this is episode number 6 of Don't Just Get Up, Wake Up. This is breaking down the definition of fake news and why the hell you guys are saying it so much. Alright, this is just breaking down the whole origin of it. Once again, do your own research. This is your boy Zodog, just bringing you to the forefront. And hopefully you'll connect the dots yourself, alright? Love you guys, and let's sit back and relax. Learn a little something.
Disagree. Travel the world in the
This is an 18-minute video, so most likely you guys are not going to sit back for 18 minutes and watch this. So of course, do your own research. I'm going to show you a good meat of it so you can understand what the fuck's going on, alright? I love ya.
Because the newest version of the 2013 NDAA included an interesting amendment. This amendment legalized domestic propaganda on the American public. You heard me right. The newest NDAA wasn't just reauthorizing the indefinite detention of American citizens. It also allowed the U.S. government to legally carry out misinformation campaigns against the citizens of this country. But is this really surprising to anyone? I mean, the corporate media is basically a propaganda arm of the U.S. government anyways, isn't it? Why do they need to legalize the use of propaganda when you already have an entire mainstream media establishment lacking to the White House, reprinting government press releases without question? In fact, aside from everything I just mentioned, the Pentagon already spends $4 billion a year to influence public opinion, and the Department of Defense also spends hundreds of millions of dollars on information campaigns in countless countries occupied by the U.S. military. But perhaps even more disturbing than all of this is the fact that the CIA has already been infiltrating the biggest press institutions since the early 1950s. The secret CIA campaign to spread disinformation and false stories to foreign governments during the Cold War. It did this by manipulating the media into focusing on propaganda, sabotage, and subversion. The CIA program consisted of literally paying off editors and reporters at most mainstream news outlets. The New York Times, CBS, Time, The Washington Post, Newsweek, AP, Reuters, and countless more. People to this day could still be reading and referencing these articles not knowing that they're completely fake. And sure, this was more than 50 years ago, but let's face the facts here. Our media is much worse now and has been much more easily compromised now. So how do we know that Operation Mockingbird still isn't in effect? Well, we don't.
It is uncontested fact that the CIA has enjoyed a long and intimate relationship with some of the largest news organizations in the world, and has used this relationship to manipulate, censor, and even fabricate news stories in support of its own covert agenda. The ties between the intelligence community and the news organizations were formalized at the highest levels of management and ownership, and included, according to Bernstein, cooperation with media tycoons like Arthur A. Sulzberger of the New York Times, Henry Luce of Time Inc., and William Paley of CBS. Toward the end of his career, Sig Mickelson, the head of CBS News in the 1950s and the man credited with launching the career of the most trusted man in America, Walter Cronkite, admitted that CBS News worked closely with the CIA.
And with launching the career of the most trusted man in America, Walter Cronkite, admitted that CBS News worked closely with the CIA.
And the man credited with launching the career of the most trusted man in America, Walter Cronkite, admitted that CBS News worked closely with the CIA.
Yo, this is Walter Cronkite. I mean, Tupac. I be getting confused.
Yo, this is Walter Cronkite. I mean, Tupac. I be getting confused. Ladies, kids will take the change. That's the way it is. That's just the way it is. Yeah.
Over the years, numerous specific examples of the agency's manipulation of the news media have surfaced, including multiple instances where stories that had been outright fabricated by CIA assets had resulted in the justification for military intervention. In the 1980s, for instance, a story about Russian MiGs being delivered to Nicaragua appeared on the front page of the New York Times. As CIA analyst turned whistleblower David McMichael later revealed, this had been completely made up, but was reported as fact as a way of manipulating public opinion to support U.S. intervention in the region. In an infamous story from the 1970s revealed by CIA whistleblower John Stockwell, a story about rapes committed by Cuban soldiers in Angola, which was widely reported around the world, had in fact been completely made up by CIA assets in the press.
So he came up with another story, which he in fact kept going for weeks, and it was a good story in terms of the CIA's propaganda interests. He had some Cuban soldiers raping some young Angolan girls. Then there was a battle, and he had that Cuban unit cut off and captured. And then he had the Cuban women, the victims, identifying their rapists. And then there was a trial, and they were convicted. And then he had them executed by a firing squad of the women who had supposedly been violated, with photographs of young African women with weapons shooting down these Cubans. There had never been a rape. There had never been the military action. The Cubans had never been captured. It was all fiction.
Stockwell did extremely well with this story. Here's the Daily Express of March the 12th, 1976. Gun girls execute Cuban rapists is the headline. And quoting from UNITA, it says that 17 Cubans were executed, 5 of whom had been identified as the people who had raped 4 African women a few weeks before. And here's the Evening Standard, with a bit more convincing detail, saying the Cubans were shot with their own guns. And here's the Daily Telegraph, the newspaper of record, adding a bit more detail, identifying the region from which the women came, and saying that they took part in the executions. The reporter was John Bullock.
I haven't the faintest idea whether it was true, and I never said it was true. I reported somebody as saying that, as telling me that story. I certainly didn't report the facts.
Similarly, in Libya this year, shortly after Obama admitted the presence of covert operatives on the ground in Libya, identified as CIA agents by the New York Times, with the admitted goal of destabilizing the Gaddafi government, a story surfaced about Gaddafi's troops that was immediately picked up and reported unquestioningly by nearly every news outlet in the world.
In the morgue, Gaddafi soldiers killed in the fight for Ashdabia, and in the pockets of their uniforms, Viagra and condoms, weapons of war.
President Muammar Gaddafi is also rejecting allegations he ordered his troops to rape women as a way to spread fear and dissent in the early days of the liberation.
Now, the International Criminal Court says there is evidence that Colonel Gaddafi ordered his forces to use rape as a weapon of war.
It was later admitted that there was in fact no evidence whatsoever to back up these assertions, but that news was not heralded with anything near the same attention that the original accusations had garnered. It's universally understood that such operations still take place, but without whistleblowers and insiders exposing the truth, it's impossible to tell exactly what stories in our own day and age have been completely fabricated by intelligence agencies with a vested interest in manipulating public opinion.
move out the way, he still hit me with the tail.
And where did he hit you?
In the stomach area.
And
No.
what do you?
No. Yeah. That's where he hit me at.
In the groin.
Yeah.
Okay.
My kid died because nobody responded to what occurred at Sandy Hook. Those parents lost little kids. It's bad enough that I lost my 20-year-old, but I had 20 years with my son. That's all I ever have. But those people lost their children at 6 and 7 years old. How do you think they feel? And who's talking to them now? Who's doing anything for them now?
Well, now I would say so, but even to the point we made earlier, and I'm gonna name my last album "The Spook That Sat by the Door." You know what I mean? When I finished my situation with our partnership in Atlanta, and if anybody ain't seen that book, when you seen that movie or read the book, it's about a gang member from Chicago who presented himself in a way he never caught no cases. He had a clean cut look, and he infiltrated the CIA, and he became educated. And basically he used their agenda, which was to have a token nigga in the CIA for political reasons. You know, we're gonna fuck it. He used it against him. I feel parallel with, like, you know what I mean? 100%.
And what's interesting about that book, all these people used to call him Uncle Tom and he cool.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But he was there working for them the whole time.
Yeah. And
my favorite record on the album, you make a Spook Who Sat by the Door reference.
And I'm gonna name my last album "The Spook That Sat by the Door." A gang member from Chicago presented himself in a way he never caught no cases, and he infiltrated the CIA. Basically, he used their agenda, which was to have a token nigga in the CIA for political reasons. He used it against him.
Close the door, close the door. Put the better like this. There you go, my man. There you go, you got it. I'll check your Instagram. I'll message it to you. Alright, okay? Very nice.
This is what y'all not understanding. Where did Nipsey Hussle come from? Where did he come from? All of my friends, look, y'all not understanding. Y'all don't understand this shit, bro. A lot of y'all niggas, look at this picture, bro. This is all of us as kids. See dude right there with the blonde hair? That's me in the background. This is a picture of all of us as kids. Everybody in this picture is born and raised in Watts. We still don't understand where Nipsey came from. This is a picture of all of us as kids. We still don't understand where he came from and how did he even manage to be in Watts. We don't know how he even went to a school in Watts. We don't even know where he came from. But he was in Watts trying to help. You don't understand what Watts is. Let me break it. Let me break something down to y'all.
was re-advance death row the money.
But the truth is, we in Time Warner put up the money. I mean, look, I was definitely part of bailing out Tupac. Listening out to all the soldiers, we support the troops, man. I certainly do. I'm a former military person, and I look forward to your return.
Okay. And you guys actually were literally protecting him, like on the outside of his actual room and so forth.
And we surrounded the hospital.
Wow.
And we took, security points.
So it's like a military operation. Yeah.
A military operation. Yeah.
It is no longer disputed that the CIA has maintained an extensive and ongoing relationship with news organizations and journalists, and multiple specific acts of media manipulation have now been documented. But as long as the public continues to ignore the influence of intelligence agencies in shaping or even fabricating news stories, the agency will continue to be able to set the policy that drives the American war machine at will.
Hope you all understood everything that you watched, and I hope you guys do your own research, of course, you know what I mean? And love you guys. That is the conclusion of episode 6. Don't just get up, wake up. It's your boy Zoe Dog. Hit subscribe on YouTube and the bell. And Instagram, Facebook, look me up, alright?